Hello, Africa. This is Business Africa, and I am Ignatius Ano. Our top stories. Eswatini faces a fiscal crisis and the local economy risk crushing if significant reforms are not implemented. We hear about its economic recovery plan as it begins jabbing the population against COVID-19. Nearly two-thirds of young people in Djibouti are unemployed. The East African nation turns to competitions to tap young startups to address the problem. And a little later, we'll take a look at the economic cost of Total's force majeure in Mozambique. It follows an attack on a $20 billion liquefied natural gas project. Details right now. The Kingdom of Eswatini is carving a path to a private-led economy, an economy at risk of crushing if it does not embrace crucial economic reforms. For a while now, the kingdom has been struggling to attract investments, but the COVID-19 pandemic seemed to have presented the opportunity it needs to restructure the local economy. Now, that's why late last year, Eswatini unveiled an economic recovery plan to get it out of the woods.
The Kingdom of Eswatini is expecting big things from its ambitious post-COVID-19 economic recovery plan. Managers of this small landlord monarchy in southern Africa are hopeful that the plan will jolt the economy into a much stronger one after the pandemic compared to its neighbours in the region. The post-COVID-19 economic recovery plan released by officials detailed its focus on 8 sectors of the Liswati economy, amongst which business, agriculture, tourism and environment, mining, but also energy and water. But 8 months after the recovery plan was drafted, Eswatini's economy has yet to feel the effects of the stimulus. Before COVID-19 hit the country, the government was already experiencing cash flow setbacks. The virus only battered a long-existing and fragile fiscal issue. Slowdown in economic activities has meant revenue loss, creating an even bigger fiscal deficit. Experts now fear that without any significant reforms and adjustments in government spending, the economy could soon experience a severe crash.
Senator Mangoba Khumalo is Eswatini's Minister for Commerce, Industry and Trade. He joins us from the capital, Mbabane. Pleasure to have you on the program. Thank you. So let's begin with the approval of a $5 million loan in additional financing by the World Bank. How significant is this to Eswatini's battle against the pandemic to get the economy back on track?
The World Bank has helped us with a $6 million loan before. This loan is additional. And they've actually also given us a grant of $3 million additional to the 2 loans. We've had to rely on some fiscal adjustments on our side, but we've also had to rely on some of our development partners, and the World Bank has led with distinction in this regard. We're extremely grateful. This $5 million is going to be directed mainly to the rollout plan, not so much to the buying of vaccines because we have a budget for that. But we've discovered that the actual rollout of the vaccination program throughout the country is going to be almost as equally as expensive as the vaccines themselves.
You have an economy that risks crushing in the absence of fiscal adjustment, while at the same time, the government has to increase expenditure in health and social protection. Is the economic recovery plan offering the badly needed relief?
We cannot save our way to success, but we need to be figuring out ways to bring in a whole lot more revenues from payroll taxes, revenues from consumer taxes, and revenues from corporate taxes. And the post-COVID-19 economic recovery plan is focusing squarely on that aspect. But I'm very glad to say that when this particular cabinet that is currently running government took over, our fiscal position was really dire. This is about 2.5 years ago, and things have improved quite a lot, where we are now sitting with very healthy reserves.
And a path to a private sector-led economy is vigorously being pursued by the economic managers. Why now?
We are, in a precarious position right now where the ability for government to continue to create jobs, it has reached unsustainable levels from an affordability point of view. We therefore realize that we have a lot of private sector opportunities that the private sector has put on the table in years past and sometimes decades, where the private sector has seen value, but for one reason or another, through government bureaucracy, through the ease of doing business concerns, these opportunities have never been taken advantage of. So we've created a list of projects that are basically implementation ready, that with government enablement and with a clear view of the value that they're going to bring in terms of creating revenues for corporate taxes, revenues in payroll taxes, revenues in consumer taxes. These are the opportunities we're going at aggressively. And the good news is that these are projects that will be financed by the private sector, and our role is to just enable them.
Thank you for your time on the program. Let's head to East Africa now. Youth unemployment in Djibouti is rising. Over the last 10 years, the rate of unemployment for young people has seen an uptick of more than 2%. In 2001, youth unemployment in this Horn of Africa nation was pegged at 18.47%. Now, estimates from the International Labour Organization show that the figure jumped to 21% in 2020. In Djibouti City, startups are being considered to ameliorate the situation. From the Djibouti City, here's Sechkovi's report.
It is a big day for Daoud Mohamed Ali and his friends. They are presenting their technological solution at the Djibouti robotic competition. If successful, it begins a promising entrepreneurial adventure.
This is our project. It is a smart eyeglass that is intended for the blind and the visually impaired. This eyeglass will help them move and will give them some kind of autonomy.
Djibouti may have achieved a growth rate of over 6% in recent years, but nearly 2/3 of its population is unemployed. And even more, endemic situation among young people aged 20 to 25, who are close to 80%. To try to reverse this trend, competitions like these are organized to select the country's future young startups. At this center, the best are supported with accommodation, training, advice, and financing in the early stages of their entrepreneurial life.
There is the population of young people who do not have the academic level to create activities that will take them out of precariousness. We also target these young people who have the academic level, these young startuppers who will create employment.
With a connectivity of 8 submarine cables, Djibouti is one of the most connected countries on the continent. With this advantage, this nation on the Horn of Africa now wants to encourage the development of a digital economy that contributes to the gross domestic product. For its future, Djibouti is betting on digitalization. In this other private incubator, specialized in supporting startups focused on digital, the agency is to strengthen the employability of young people.
The challenge is there, and it's a big one. It is precisely how to allow the Djiboutian youth to benefit by being actors and people who produce instead of being consumers.
The country dreams of becoming a regional digital hub. It wants to see digital activity provide as much revenue as the port, which contributes 75% of GDP to the Djiboutian economy.
And Mozambique is likely counting the economic cost of insurgency. French energy giant Total has suspended its operations there and declared force majeure. The company says, quote, it is the only way to best protect its interest until work can resume. A big blow to an economy currently reeling under attacks by insurgents. The African Energy Chamber is disappointed at the development. It urges both parties to find a practical solution to seize the force majeure and resume the project to benefit Mozambicans.
On Monday, April 26th, Total declared force majeure on its $20 billion liquefied natural gas project in Mozambique. The French energy giant has withdrawn all personnel from the site after insurgent attacks in March. The coastal town of Palma is home to the gas projects worth $60 billion. The investment was expected to help transform Mozambique's economy. By declaring force majeure, Total is allowed to cancel contractors. The company was aiming to produce its first cargo from the LNG project in 2024. The attacks that led to the slaying of dozens of civilians have dealt a blow to the African nation. Mozambique would have been turned into a major producer of LNG, rivaling the likes of Australia, Qatar, Russia, and the United States.
And that's it for Business Africa. You can be a part of the program via our various social media handles. Follow me on Twitter @Ignatius, and also head over to Africanews.com for the entire program and more. I thank you for watching, and goodbye.